Hey, welcome to the channel, Dakota Starry Nights. In a previous workshop, I covered on how to make a do-it-yourself camera field rotator for astrophotography, called the Dakota Camera Rotator. And in that, we discussed about the electronic field rotators and some of the advantages of those and disadvantages, mainly being the price. And in order to help you guys make a more informed decision, we're going to do a workshop on an electronic field rotator. Well, currently, the most affordable field rotator out there is this Pegasus Astro camera field rotator, which just became available in the summer of 2020. My initial impression on this is that it's really well made. It has a nice finish to it, a nice solid feel. It has these flush mounted Allen head screws. It does come with two adapters, a power cord and a USB cord. And this is basically just a catalog of their product line. For the software and the manual, you need to go to their website, pegasusastro.com, to get the software that will run this. So we're going to do our typical in-depth review of this rotator. And I'm going to start off by things you guys might want to know. And one of the more important statistics is the back focus. The back focus on this is 18 millimeters. And both openings are M54 thread. Comes with these two adapters, one for the telescope side that will thread into the M54 thread and convert this over to a 2-inch nose to go in your telescope. And the other side is 54 with this 54 to 48 male-to-male threaded adapter to go into your filter wheel. Now, it's tested for your imaging setup that it can handle that, but there are 6 stainless steel branded bearings that are claimed to handle higher payloads with zero flexure. And you can also initiate the rotor to find the zero limit or set the zero position with the supplied software. Now, the rotator movement is from 0 to 220 clockwise and from 0 to 220.1 degrees counterclockwise. Another thing that's kind of important, and you may be wondering, the software does prevent cable stretch or loop, which of course can damage your cords. Now, I've got it like this, but it does set in like this with the USB and power up at the top is typically the way it's installed. This is a USB 2 Type B port on the top of the rotator, and it does come with the cable that is 1.8 millimeters long. There's also a 12 volt DC port here, a center positive, and the power requirement is 12 to 13.8 volts with at least 1 amp of current. Let's talk about the accuracy. It can move to any degree within at least 1 decimal point of accuracy and automatically decide which direction the motor should be driven to rotate the camera to the designated degrees. Very sweet. One of the cool things about this, the current position is automatically stored in the memory after 10 seconds of each movement of inactivity. Now what this means is it allows the rotator to remember the last position during the startup power reset. And speaking of reset, and this is really a useful feature, it has what they call a watchdog that resets the device if for any reason there's no response from the controller after 2 seconds. Now this can really come in handy, guys, if you've got a remote observatory or running a set of sequences while you sleep, like I do. So you don't have to go back and see that the thing froze up and now you've lost an entire night of imaging. So we're going to connect this to software and take a closer look on how this puppy operates. But so far, guys, this is looking pretty nice. This looks like a really well-made product. I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this will perform. I have been using the Dakota Camera Field Rotator. It's great, but the downside to it is that you do have to be out there in the middle of the night rotating it if you're going to do multiple targets, which I do. And in the wintertime, it's nice to be indoors operating remotely as opposed to sitting beside your rig you know, freezing to death. Because, and I mean that literally, because we get temperatures here in South Dakota that could go down to, like, you know, single digits easily. Okay, so with the magic of Hollywood and have this all connected. See you there, guys. So I thought this might be worth covering. For you guys that got a QHY filter wheel, it has a 54M thread on the telescope side. Now, as I stated earlier, the Falcon Rotator has 54 as well. It does come with a 54 to a 48 adapter, which is what you see screwed in right now. I'm bringing this up, if you have a male 54-54, you can eliminate this reducer that's on the filter wheel side, 54 to 48. So having a 54 to 54 eliminate this buildup. 4 millimeters of back focus here. So if you're back focus critical, you might want to consider getting a 54 to 54 millimeter coupler, and that would eliminate this stack. I've got a focal reducer here, and it requires 55 millimeters of back focus like most of these. I've got enough rings here to try out different combinations to get it within plus or minus of that. The problem is they provide you with this 2-inch nose adapter that'll go 54 to 2-inch, and they provide you with one adapter that will go from 54 to 48 on the other side, male. The problem is, if you're going to use a focal reducer that typically has 48 male threads on this one, you need a female 48 M48 thread for this to attach to the telescope side. Just a heads up on that. Okay, so I'm on the Pegasus Astro.com website, and you go to support and downloads and go down about halfway down the page. It brings you to this Falcon Rotator. They've got the documentation, the software, the setup, USB drivers, and ASCOM. It's all right there for you to work. And I just went through the setup, the execute. So let's tab this out. It should be here somewhere. Okay, so here it is here, the application, and we'll double click on that. The other's been downloaded. This is Windows 10, and this comes up. Let's get this out of the way, guys, so that we can get a better look at here. Pop this out. There you go. So you just click on agree. Now, I've never installed this before, so you know, this is like the first time I'm doing this, so this will be kind of an honest example of how easy or hard it is. The 3 packages that were downloaded were pretty easy. Over here you've got manual sync rotator, the ghost window, don't know what that is, window on top, and the home degree. Click to connect. So let's click that and see if it connects. Windows, firewall, allow access to a new firmware. Okay, so we'll update that. Click on that, upload it. Okay, successfully uploaded. We'll close that out, and I'm going to restart it. It's usually a good idea. Over here is the icon. It automatically put that on the desktop. So this says move plus or minus 10 degrees, so we got to connect it, of course. Okay, it's on. and it looks like this lights up. And this is in degrees, and I guess you can break this down. That changes the step size from 10 to 20. You can click here and 5, 10, or 20. Let's go 20 and then move it. It's moving it. Let's move it quite a bit so you guys can see it on the camera here. Let's go 45. Wow. And it's nice and quiet. So let's open up Nina and see how Nina responds to it as a first impression here. Now I understand that you need to be connected to the Falcon software before Nina can talk to it. It's like a communicator between Nina and the rotator. So that's how I understand it. Possibly with a future update they will, make it direct, but it's really nothing connecting that. So let's come over here. It's already populated. Falcon Rotator. That was easy. All I did, guys, was just click download, and that was it. It put the drivers where they needed to be and made all the assessments. Now my mechanical range is going to be a little bit more here. I'm going to go 180 with that, and my mechanical start position I'm thinking is going to be 0. Well, let's go over to the imaging tab, because it doesn't move mechanical position. Target position is at 65. Okay, it's saying that it's at 65. Let's see what the software says. 65. They're talking to each other. That is very cool. Let's go to 0 and see if it goes back to the 0 position. And it is going backwards from what I can see. And you guys can see it there on the monitor. Yeah. Huh? It's going past what I thought was 0. Oh no, that's where it had initially started. So when I had initially tightened it up, the camera was a little off to the left here and not to the top of the filter wheel, and that's how I installed it. That's where it's cinched up. Wherever you started, I guess, is going to be the 0 position. There's a way you can change that if you want. Let's see what it looks like over here in terms of the chip. The chip should be at a slight angle, and there is a sensor view. Now, see, the sensor actually isn't like that, so I think it's probably a good idea to change that, the home position. So let's tip this back. I'm going to go in 5 degrees, let's say, because I want to set the home position accurately. That's almost there. I'm going to go to 1 degree here and go 1 degree. That's good. Now there's a way to set this to 0. So now we need to set the home position. Enter new angle. After you click OK, rotate will report the angle. Set new angle position. Type the new position in degrees. 0. Yep, that's how you do it. So that's the new home position, 0. Now let's go to Nina and see if Nina is reporting 0. 0 right here. Let's come over to the imaging tab and let's see, target position. Let's go 45, and there it goes. It's real quiet. Wow. It's very intuitive. Okay, we'll move on to use this puppy to plate solve a target. That's our next step. So when the weather turns good, we'll pick this up in the pod. Cool. Okay guys, we're in the observatory pod again, and we have the Falcon Rotator hooked up, and Nina pulled up, connected. We're going to do the Flaming Star Nebula region, and going to be doing a 4-panel mosaic that's been rotated. So let's take a look at it, and we'll do this test run. Okay, so I've got a 4-panel image of the Flame Nebula, and we're just going to do like, I'd say maybe 5 minutes of each frame, and just to get an idea on how well this overlaps. We have a 20% overlap over here. The rotation is 35 degrees. Now before I begin, I want to cover something here. Initially when I tried to plate solve, it was having difficulty finding the location, and it would just keep going from one side to the other, completely around. It was pretty erratic. Seemed to be lost and not knowing where it was. Tried dozens of different settings, and in the end what it turned out to be was, if you're having that experience where it seems like the rotator's lost, doesn't know where it is, you want to come up to here and reverse the motor direction. Click on that, and that solved the problem. Reversing it here doesn't seem to have any effect. It just goes back. So you want to open up this software here and do it right here. Okay, let's get over to the framing, and we want to send this to a sequencer, and I'll save you the trouble of watching this and speed this up when this initiates. Okay, I've got it all set up, so now I'm going to hit the start the sequence, and the mount will slew to the proper position, and the Falcon Rotator hopefully will initiate. We'll pull this up. Here we go. Just slewing to target. And we get to see it rotate and plate solve. And this is what the camera's looking at right now. So now it's rotating to get the first frame. Okay. So now it's taking its first exposure since it's rotated, and you want to set your tolerances, below a degree, obviously, when you have this. And let's see, it's settling, taking another one. Okay, so obviously the rotation is satisfactory, and it is now just plate solving now that the angle is correct for the first image. And this would be panel 1, which would be this panel right here. So if we look at the sensor, it's about right. If you look, the angles pretty much match. So that's encouraging. Okay. And so now it has solved it, and it's starting to guide. And after the guiding sequence settles, now it's going to do the autofocus. For those of you who've used Nina, you're familiar with this process. So that's pretty cool. So here we've got panel 1. That looks like an interesting piece of nebulosity. We are 71% into the second panel. And if we come over to the framing, that would be that one there. We've got it on a different perspective because we've had a meridian flip, so it's showing it a little differently, but that's basically it right there. That looks about right. It framed it pretty accurately. And this other one is just about ready to come in. 30 more seconds. Here we go. And unable to see that because it's plate solving now for the next panel, but there it is. Wow, check that out. So that last one we saw, was this right in here. I believe, I'm not sure what that one is. You guys know what that one is. Go ahead and put that in the comments, what this one is, the designation. And then there's this one also, the first panel that looks sort of like the veil. If you guys know what that designation is, somebody please put it in the comments, so share that with everybody. Appreciate that. Okay, so it's plate solving and getting in position. So it's starting to guide, and as you can see, once it sets the position, it seems like it just pretty much stays there. It's still 37, and I don't believe it'll change. It just slides around. And let's pull up that last one, which was panel 3, I believe. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's the Flaming Star Nebula there. Wow, that panel alone is nice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'd love just that. That's really cool. Okay, well, we got one more panel to pull in. We'll show you that as it comes in. Okay, we just about got the last panel coming in at 448. Okay, there it is. And now the mount is parking because it just finished it. The sequence. Wow. I believe that's 410. Wow, that's not bad for just 5 minutes. Okay, well, we'll see you when we get it stitched together. Okay, we're at the desktop right now, and what you see here in front of you is the 4-panel mosaic constructed in Nina through the framing assistant. So here's panel 1, panel 2, panel 3, panel 4. These lines represent the overlay. I've put those lines there so that we can see the overlay easier. So now we're going to hide this, and that's the actual results of what we captured. Each one of these frames is a 5-minute 3x3 sub. And as you can see, here's the overlay. So we'll remove that, and that's what they look like. Now, when I do mosaics, I use Photoshop CS6 in order to individually tweak the histograms of these subs to get them to match up. And by doing that, I also do a hand alignment of stars. So, something I want to show you. Zoom in there, and we'll pay attention to this star right here. This star appears in this frame as well. And we're going to remove that. And you can see that it lines up really, really good. I'm really pleased with the way these frames have lined up. Now, I had set the tolerance to 0.15, and it appears to me that I can tighten that up somewhat in order to do even a better alignment. The white area represents each one of these frames if they were touching edge to edge. So this would be the entire field of view if there was no overlap. So by reducing this overlap by 10% and making it from 20 to 10, and I believe I can do it now that I have the rotator because of the accuracy. I used to have at least that amount because I was doing it by hand. Here is a jellyfish nebular 2-panel mosaic I'm currently working on, and this was rotated by hand. And as you can see here, this is what we've lost down here. This is the 20% overlay. The white area, I wouldn't pay any attention to that. It's the black area that we're looking at here, and this side is the overlay. That's not due to the hand rotation. That's due to the overlap that was entered into Nina. So here's the real loss that we're talking about, is right here. It's not bad, but that's only 2 panels, remember that. So if we was to do 4 panels, this would start to add up. So if we come over to here, you could see it's very little. And remember, the tolerance was set at 0.15, so we could possibly make it almost flush. These 3 panels seem to be fine. They seem to be lined up in the top and on the side. And this one seems to be tweaked just a little bit. So I believe we can tighten that up by tightening up the tolerance to something like 0.05 or 0.01. And because of the accuracy, we can also reduce this 20% overlap to, I'd say, at least 10%. And so we'd be picking up more real estate in that regard. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with it. The build quality of the rotator is really, really good. And I'm really happy with the way this turned out in terms of the accuracy of the star fields lining up, which made it a lot easier, and in terms of the alignment itself. Well guys, that'll about do it. But for the record, I have no affiliation with Pegasus Astro, nor have I been compensated by them or anyone else to do this review. I bought the Falcon Rotator online just as you would. But you can help support future workshops like this by giving this one a like if you found it useful, and subscribing. Keep the dream alive. And to all my subscribers out there that are supporting this channel, thank you. It's truly an amazing adventure, and I'm happy to share it with you. Until next time, clear skies, and thanks for tuning into the channel, Dakota Starry Nights.